You know, there are moments in life when everything you thought you knew gets turned completely upside down. When the ground beneath your feet just disappears, and you're left standing there wondering how you missed all the signs. That moment came for me on what should have been one of the happiest days of my life, the day I was helping my daughter plan her wedding. My name is Sarah, and I thought I knew my daughter Emily better than anyone in this world. I mean, I'd raised her for 24 years. I was there for her first steps, her first words, her first heartbreak. We were close, or at least I thought we were. Emily had always been my little girl, even when she grew into this beautiful, intelligent woman who could light up any room she walked into. When she called me that Tuesday morning in March, her voice was practically bubbling with excitement. "Mom, David proposed! We're getting married!" I could hear the joy radiating through the phone, and my heart just soared. David seemed like such a good man, respectful, kind, with a stable job as an engineer. They'd been dating for 2 years and I genuinely liked him. He treated Emily well, made her laugh, and most importantly, he seemed to love her deeply. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful," I'd said, already tearing up. "Tell me everything." "How did he propose? When's the wedding? Have you thought about venues?" Emily laughed that beautiful laugh of hers. "Mom, slow down. We just got engaged last night. But actually, that's why I'm calling. Could you come over this weekend? I want to start planning, and I really want your help." My heart melted. Of course I wanted to help. I'd been dreaming about this day since Emily was little, playing dress-up in my old bridesmaid dresses. We'd planned the perfect wedding together, mother and daughter, making memories that would last a lifetime. That Saturday, I drove over to Emily's apartment with my arms full of bridal magazines, a notebook, and about a dozen different colored pens. I was ready to dive headfirst into wedding planning. Emily greeted me at the door with the biggest smile, her engagement ring catching the light as she gestured excitedly. Come in, come in!" I made coffee, and I already have some ideas written down. We settled into her cozy living room, spreading magazines across her coffee table. For the first hour, everything was perfect. We talked about dress styles, color schemes, potential venues. Emily showed me photos she'd saved on her phone. Elegant outdoor ceremonies, beautiful flower arrangements, stunning reception halls. "I'm thinking maybe a garden wedding," she said, scrolling through pictures. "Something intimate, maybe 60 or 70 people. David and I both want something meaningful but not too overwhelming." "That sounds perfect, sweetheart," I said, making notes. "Your father and I had such a big wedding, and honestly sometimes I wish we'd kept it smaller and more personal." Emily nodded, then suddenly got quiet. She set her phone down and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. There was something in her eyes, nervousness maybe. "Uncertainty? Mom, there's something I need to tell you about the wedding," she said softly. I looked up from my notebook, immediately concerned. "What is it, honey? Is everything okay? Are you having second thoughts about David?" No, it's nothing like that. I love David completely. It's just..." She paused, running her fingers through her hair the way she always did when she was anxious. "The wedding date. I know we haven't talked about timing yet, but I already have a specific date in mind." "Okay," I said slowly. "What date were you thinking?" Emily took a deep breath. "June 15th. I frowned, doing quick math in my head. "Honey, that's only 3 months away. Don't you think that's rushing it a bit? Planning a wedding usually takes at least 6 months, sometimes a year. There's so much to organize. The venue, catering, invitations, your dress." "I know it's soon," Emily said quickly. "But Mom, we really want to get married on June 15th specifically. That date is important to us." Something in her tone made me pause. There was an urgency there that I didn't understand. "Why is that date so important? Is it an anniversary for you two? The day you met?" Emily shook her head, looking down at her hands. "Not exactly. Then what is it?" I asked, genuinely confused. Emily, talk to me. Why is June 15th so significant? The silence that followed felt heavy. Emily seemed to be struggling with something, like she was fighting an internal battle about what to say next. Finally, she looked up at me, and I saw something in her eyes that made my stomach tighten with worry. "Mom, I need you to promise me something," she said quietly. "What kind of promise?" "Promise me you'll hear me out completely before you react. Promise me you'll let me explain everything before you say anything." Now I was really concerned. This wasn't like Emily at all. She was usually so straightforward, so open with me. "Emily, you're scaring me a little. What's going on?" "Just promise me, Mom, please." "Okay," I said slowly. "I promise." Emily took another deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "The reason we want to get married on June 15th is because that's when the baby is due." The words hit me like a physical blow. For a moment, I couldn't process what she'd said. "Baby?" I repeated stupidly. "What baby?" "Mom, I'm pregnant," Emily said, her voice getting stronger now that the secret was out. "I found out 2 weeks ago. David and I were going to have a baby." I sat there in complete shock, my mind racing. Pregnant. My daughter was pregnant. "And they wanted to get married before the baby was born, which meant—" "How far along are you?" I asked, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. "About 3 months," Emily said quietly. 3 months. 3 months pregnant, and I hadn't noticed. I hadn't seen the signs. What kind of mother was I? But more than that, the timeline was confusing me. "Emily, if you're 3 months pregnant and you want to get married when the baby's due, that means you've been planning this wedding since before David even proposed?" Emily's face crumpled slightly. "It's complicated, Mom." "Complicated how?" I was trying to keep my voice calm, remembering my promise to hear her out, but inside I was reeling. "Emily, help me understand. When did you find out you were pregnant? When did David propose? I feel like I'm missing something here." "David proposed because I'm pregnant," Emily said in a rush. "We weren't engaged before. We weren't even really talking about marriage seriously. When I told him about the baby, he proposed the next day." My heart sank. This wasn't the romantic love story I'd imagined. This wasn't my daughter finding her soulmate and deciding to build a life together. This was something else entirely. "Emily," I said carefully, "are you marrying David because you love him, or because you're pregnant?" "Both," she said quickly. "I do love him, Mom. I really do. But I know this isn't how you imagined it would happen." I stared at my daughter, this woman I thought I knew so well, and realized there was so much I'd missed. "How long have you known you were pregnant?" "I suspected for a few weeks, but I took the test 2 weeks ago. I told David that night." "And he proposed the next day?" Emily nodded. "He said he wanted to do the right thing. He said he loved me and wanted us to be a family." "The right thing," I repeated. Those words stung more than I expected. Was marrying my daughter just the right thing to David? Was this some kind of obligation to him? But as I looked at Emily's face, I saw something that surprised me. Despite everything, despite the unplanned pregnancy, despite the rushed engagement, there was genuine happiness there. Real joy. "Mom," Emily said softly, "I know this isn't what you pictured. I know you probably wanted me to have the perfect fairy tale romance. But this is my fairy tale. David didn't propose because he had to. He proposed because he wants to. When I told him about the baby, the first thing he said was that he was scared. But the second thing he said was that he couldn't imagine going through this with anyone else." I felt tears starting to form in my eyes. "But Emily, marriage is such a big step. Having a baby is such a big step. Are you sure you're ready for both at the same time?" "I don't know if anyone's ever really ready," Emily said. "But Mom, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I love David, I love this baby already, and I want us to be a family, a real family, with David as my husband and the father of our child." As I sat there looking at my daughter, I realized something that shocked me more than the pregnancy announcement, more than the rushed wedding plans. Emily wasn't a little girl anymore. She wasn't my baby who needed me to protect her and make decisions for her. She was a grown woman making her own choices, and she was handling this situation with more maturity and grace than I probably would have at her age. "Have you thought about what this means?" I asked. "The financial responsibility, the sleepless nights, the way your whole life is going to change?" Emily smiled, and for the first time that day, it looked completely relaxed and natural. "Mom, David and I have been talking about nothing else for 2 weeks. We know it's going to be hard. We know we'll probably make mistakes, but we also know we want to do this together." "And the wedding? Are you sure you want to plan a whole wedding while you're pregnant?" "That's a lot of stress." Actually, Emily said, and I heard a hint of her old mischief in her voice. That's where I was hoping you might help. I know 3 months isn't a lot of time, but I was thinking maybe we could do something simple but beautiful. Maybe in your and Dad's backyard? You always said that's where you felt most at home. The suggestion hit me right in the heart. Our backyard, where Emily had played as a child, where we'd had countless family barbecues and birthday parties. The idea of watching her get married there, of celebrating the start of her own family in the same place where we'd celebrated so many milestones of hers, was almost overwhelming. Emily, I said, my voice thick with emotion, are you happy? Really, truly happy? She reached over and took my hand. Mom, I'm terrified and excited and overwhelmed and completely, absolutely happy. This isn't how I planned it, but it's perfect anyway. David makes me feel safe and loved. And now we're going to have this little person to love together. How could I not be happy? Looking at her face, seeing the glow that I now realized wasn't just excitement about the engagement, but the actual pregnancy glow I'd heard about, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't the wedding I'd dreamed of for her, but it was the wedding she wanted. This wasn't the timing I would have chosen, but it was her timing, her life, her choice. There's one more thing, Emily said hesitantly. I braced myself. What? David wants to talk to you and Dad. Officially, I mean. He wants to ask for your blessing, even though he already proposed. He said it's important to him to have your approval. That simple gesture, that old-fashioned courtesy, told me more about David's character than 2 years of casual dinners together had. He was taking this seriously. He was thinking about family, about respect, about doing things properly even when the situation was far from conventional. When? I asked. Tonight, if you're willing. He's coming over for dinner. I was hoping maybe you could call Dad and ask him to come too. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw a woman ready to become a wife and mother. I saw someone who had made difficult decisions with thought and care. I saw my little girl who had grown into someone I was incredibly proud of. Yes, I said. I'll call your father. That evening, David arrived at Emily's apartment with flowers for me and a bottle of sparkling cider. He shook my husband's hand firmly, looked both of us in the eye, and asked if he could speak with us privately. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, he began formally, I know this situation isn't ideal. I know you probably had different dreams for Emily, and I know our timing isn't traditional. But I want you to know that I love your daughter more than I ever thought possible to love another person. I want to spend my life making her happy, protecting her, and building a family with her. The baby wasn't planned, but I can't imagine my life without both of them now. I'm asking for your blessing to marry Emily, and I'm promising you that I will do everything in my power to be the husband she deserves and the father this child deserves. My husband and I exchanged glances. We'd prepared ourselves to be skeptical, to question his motives, to worry about whether he was just doing the right thing out of obligation. But looking at David's face as he spoke about Emily, seeing the way his whole expression softened when he mentioned the baby, there was no doubt in my mind that this man genuinely loved our daughter. David, my husband said slowly, do you want to marry Emily because she's pregnant? Or do you want to marry her because you can't imagine your life without her? Both, David answered immediately. The pregnancy made us realize how much we mean to each other. But sir, I would want to marry Emily, baby or no baby. This just made us both realize we didn't want to waste any more time. Over the next 3 months, I watched my daughter plan the most beautiful wedding I could have imagined. It wasn't the elaborate affair I'd once pictured, but it was perfect for her. We transformed our backyard into a garden paradise with string lights and flowers. Emily found a simple but elegant dress that accommodated her growing belly beautifully, and David's eyes never left her face during the entire ceremony. When Emily walked down the makeshift aisle in our backyard, my husband's arm linked through hers. She was glowing with happiness. David was crying, actually crying, as he watched her approach. And when they exchanged vows they'd written themselves, talking about unexpected blessings and finding forever in each other, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. 3 weeks later, my grandson James was born. I was in the delivery room when David held his son for the first time, and I watched this man transform completely. The way he looked at that baby, the way he whispered promises to him, the way he kept telling Emily how proud he was of her. I knew without a doubt that this family was meant to be. That was 5 years ago now. Emily and David are still ridiculously happy together. They've given James 2 little sisters, and they're talking about buying a bigger house. David still brings me flowers when he comes for Sunday dinner, and he still looks at Emily like she hung the moon. Sometimes I think about that March day when Emily told me about the wedding, about how shocked I was, how worried I was that she was making the wrong choice. I was so focused on the timing, on the traditional timeline I'd imagined for her life, that I almost missed the most important thing. She was choosing love. She was choosing happiness. She was choosing to build something beautiful with someone who treasured her. The wedding I'd dreamed of for Emily when she was little had all the right elements. The perfect timing, the long engagement, the elaborate planning. But the wedding she actually had was so much better because it was authentically hers. It was real and imperfect, and absolutely perfect at the same time. I learned something that day that I carry with me now. Sometimes the most beautiful stories don't follow the script we write for them. Sometimes the best surprises come disguised as problems. And sometimes when your world gets turned upside down, you realize it was actually turning right side up all along. Emily taught me that love doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It creates perfect moments out of imperfect circumstances. And watching her family now, seeing the joy and laughter that fills their home, I can't imagine their story beginning any other way.